One thing that I think a lot of individuals here would probably pay too much an emphasis on compassion, on empathy, on getting way too personal. I do agree that it is important to take everything a little too carefully, but then it is also equally important to understand where you draw the line. Uh, Caring is great, but getting way too personal into anybody is never nice. That is what I would say in my personal approach. But it doesn't discount you. It is there is never a discount when it comes to caring for somebody, because like we have families, like we value our families, making sure in these testing times, remembering that they also have families to feed and they also have responsibilities, is equally important upon a leader. Hence you can't move out of the fact by saying that there aren't enough options, but we have to ensure that the team is going under a cut, and so on and so forth. There can always be a solution. It's just that we need to find it. So as simple as that. There is always a solution. We can never back out of situations by saying that there is no solution. There is always a solution. Learn to find it, and that's what leaders do. I'll give you the example of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi. We have never seen a testing time. UAE has gone under several testing times. We have never seen a leader who has backed out of his responsibility by saying that we can't do anything about it. No, we have always done something, been proactive, ensured that things work in the right manner, and everybody benefits. Nobody is less important. Everybody is equally important. Everybody is reminded of the fact, and they are equally applauded, appreciated every now and then, which is extremely important. I will give you a small example. There are a lot of videos online. Everything is on search engines for anybody to go through. There are time and again more information which is disseminated in terms of the appreciation that the cabinet and the government receives. Why would you do that? It's extremely important to know that the work that is done by these guys need to be equally appreciated. You cannot blame them for the kind of spread of the epidemic, or for that matter any sort of crisis that comes your way, whether a pandemic or not, any crisis that hits your organization, your country. You can't play the blame game. You can't play it. You need to applaud the fact that everybody is working equally hard. Remember that. Remember that they are there for a reason, and they are doing what they have to do. So we learn from the great leadership examples set by the royal families in the UAE, and we are continuously ensuring that that kind of model can be reinstated even for individual organizations within the country.
I would just, this is Terry Earthwin. Thank you for this time today. This has been a fabulous presentation. And I would like to acknowledge Shankar. There's some great input there. And I think Mahatma Gandhi put it really well. Be the person you want to see in the world. So if you're the leader of your company, be what you want your company to be. And that's to set the example. Be kind, but don't be a fool. You are not the company you were yesterday. You're not the person you were yesterday, and you're not the person you're going to be tomorrow. This pandemic has created an opportunity that is unprecedented, and certainly in modern history, but probably history as a whole. And that is, it has given the world an opportunity to stop and relook at what we are doing and what we're not doing. And yes, there is some players in the game that are making foolish decisions. They cut a bunch of people out of their company in order to make cash flow for management bonuses. Silly stuff. That kind of stuff is not going to be supported in the future. That's, everything that's happening today seems to be more emotional because it's being filmed live everywhere in the world, okay? You can't push it under the carpet anymore. And when injustice is done, there's 20 cameras shooting that film and putting it right on a live satellite. And same with a leader. Leader is going to make mistakes. And if they're not making mistakes, they're not leaders. Because you make your decisions not because it's necessarily a good choice or a bad choice. Who does effect, and what is the outcome of the choice? And then you make a choice, you make a decision. And then as you move forward, that decision still isn't a good or a bad decision. You find out more information that creates a change or a course adjustment. You adjust your course. That's what a good captain of a ship does. Because there are no good sailors out there who've never been through a storm. So this is a storm of of worldwide proportions. And we get to look at ourselves right here on camera, 24/7. And this is a fabulous opportunity. And we're teaching that at Consortium. And this dialogue today has been very fruitful. And I appreciate your time here, Arshi. This has been fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Terry. I appreciate your thoughts, and likewise, sentiments are similar when it is regarding the fact that leadership styles and how leaders can embrace being at fault. Very important to do that. We can't always be right, and we need to embrace that first. We can't ensure that we always be right. And there are situations, and I always personally also propagate this, that you can't get out of a situation that you behaved yourself into. So it's very important to take onus of how and what you do. Very important to do that. Hence, your leadership style is actually much more an extension and much more of a extension of your own character. That's what defines you, whether in a crisis or not. And so we are all looking forward to become better versions of ourselves, so that our leadership improves and it constantly keeps recalibrating itself.
Well said.
I have Bint NB, yes.
Yeah,
I have one question about leadership and followership. We cannot speak about leadership without talking about having followers, even for an organization or for a community. So how can we, what do you think about that? Or my question can be, is the action of the followers which determine the success of a leader?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the question. I think what you're trying to understand is that the actions of followers, or let's just say the people who are working for you, or the people who look up to you, would determine the success of an organization or your own self. I think that has to be, the onus has to be with the leader. You can't delegate onus of what you do. Like I mentioned when Terry said, it is important to take charge of your own success. You can't always put it up on people. They are collectively making sure that you succeed, organization succeeds, and everybody else is succeeding. But to be able to ensure that the followers or anybody who's working for you is doing that blindly, no. I'm completely against that, and I'm somebody who would say that everyone has a voice, and that needs to be heard. To be able to have people who have a yes for a yes, a no for a no, that does not work for me. I ensure that everybody is putting their voice out, and that's why you need people to come up with suggestions. You need people to tell you where you're right. Ensuring success can't completely be on people, but it is also upon how you embrace it. If somebody gives you a suggestion, they're not open to it, it doesn't work, and that could probably miserably fail, and that doesn't work for the organization. So it is a maximum onus on behalf of the leader to be able to take suggestions from either followers or anybody who's working for you within the team, executive management, and so on. That's more onus on the person. Yes, the team needs to be collectively responsible for the fact, and also needs to be authentic, because when you have somebody who's leading and taking charge of the ship, you need to have authentic suggestions. You can't have made up pasted comments just because you need to put down something. It needs to be extremely authentic, and that's what I greatly emphasize on. Have an authentic leader, have an authentic team, build one. You can only be authentic in terms of leadership if you build an authentic team who is able to speak their mind, who is able to ensure that they put their right message forward in the correct manner, which is acceptable. So very important to do that, and a leader needs to take charge of that. You can't always put it up on the other person. I'm somebody who would never put down either if it's a downtime or any sort of downside on the other person. We have to take charge. Like I mentioned in the initial beginning of the program, whether we like it or not, we are accountable. We are accountable for the downside. We are accountable for everything. So one needs to mentally be ready for that when you are at the hem of everything.
Shankar, you can go on and ask your question now.
First of all, I like what Terry actually talked about, and that was a fabulous point, that every camera is looking at us as leaders, and you cannot hide behind anything else now. But of course, there are leaders who at the end of it still calls it fake news. Just be aware of that. At the end of it, my question is that when we talk about leadership, we presuppose the fact that there is someone above and there is someone below. The ones below are often called followers or people who are called subordinates in organizations. And I think in the future, leadership will not be about top down or bottom up. It will be very, very circular. When you look at a circle and you position someone in the circle, you would realize that he's just one more amongst the many. And it happens to be that he has been given the trust by the rest of the people to be able to lead that process and make some guidelines about it. The moment you put yourself in a pedestal, and we were writing about a few things like we are the protectors, providers, projectors, promoters. The moment we use these words, it presupposes the fact that you've presumed that you are one up above the others. And I have a real contest on that point. Are we really one up above the others? The boss gets a little more salary because he happens to have a little more experience and nothing else. He's still called the boss because the others have made him the boss. This is my little thought.
I'll probably add something to what you mentioned. It's quite an extension of what I mentioned in the beginning of the session, that we have to understand that everybody in the organization is serving a purpose. Their purpose could be specific to their employment, and we should never forget that everybody here is doing a certain kind of a job that they have been employed for. Caring is one thing, being emotional about it, being passionate about it is one thing, but the fact that there is somebody who's doing another job which is leading the team, there is a clear distinction, and that does not mean you are one up above or you are one below and you could be undermined by your team members by being way too vocal. No, I don't agree with that. Nobody needs to be undermined, and nobody deserves to be undermined, whether it is the leader or the employees or the team members. There shouldn't be any room for any sort of condescending statements. But when you lead and when you are doing a certain kind of function, that doesn't put you on a pedestal. It certainly gives you a certain place where you can be much more approachable and accessible for everybody to put their point forward. I have reiterated this in the session that you need to have that open access to everybody. And you need to have that approach and character to be able to take suggestions, feedbacks, and also criticism. If you aren't criticized, you aren't doing anything. You have to be criticized. It is very human to have criticisms, and how you deal with criticisms is extremely important. The way you take it in your stride as a leader is extremely important. So yes, when you say that it is putting somebody on a pedestal, no, it is never putting anybody on a pedestal. But never take away from the fact that the leader is doing what he or she needs to do. There is a team around it, the core team, that is doing what he or they need to do. There is a certain section of people who are doing their job. Everybody is doing a certain kind of a job, and everybody needs to be respected. Just because you are leading the ship or you are the sailor of the ship does not mean that you have prime authority. Nobody can raise question. No, that's where things have changed today. And I think the crisis has given an opportunity for everybody to rethink, reassess the fact as to how we are leading.
Thank you very much. I think we have one more question. Oh, Aswin, I thought we had a question from Aswin. Unfortunately, I think she has gone off. Any other question? We have just less than 5 minutes with.
Yeah, let me train a question.
Okay, go on, Josiah.
Okay, almost tying very, very strongly to the question asked or to the comment made by Shankar. Like in many organizations, we have different levels of leadership. We have those at the very top, and we have mid-level leadership. And in many cases, the direction for the organization is being set by top management, those who are the higher level of leadership. Now, if there exists a mid-level leader, for example, whose leadership style almost goes at
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed interacting with everybody here. Again, like I mentioned in the beginning, we can all agree to disagree on certain things, and we can all reconcile and accept the fact that everybody is different and everybody's leadership style will be different. The way you conduct yourself, the way your character is defines how your business will be and how your team leads. As a leader, you have to take onus of everything that happens, the good, the bad, everything. You have to make sure you care enough. You have to make sure that everybody else is equally protected and they are provided for. Very important, it can't alone be provided. They need to be equally protected as much as you would protect your own. It is only you can do much more and have a sustainable relationship with your employees and your team when you care enough. Hence, the fact that we are able to do that today because of the crisis, a lot of people have learned the importance of it, and we're very grateful that we are able to embrace it at the right time. Hence, the CEO's role in creating an effective leadership team. Yes, the CEO plays a great role, but it is also a great team that makes a great CEO. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashni. Thank you. It's been a very great time with you today. You were very fantastic. We appreciate your time. I want to let you know that this was also live on Facebook. We're going to send you the link for YouTube. We're going to share it with all the participants here also. Our session will continue. The U Executive Masterclass will continue tomorrow. We're having another session tomorrow. We're having a very, very, very wonderful speaker from UK. You'll find out when you join us tomorrow. Dr. Ono, please.
Okay. Onyi is an executive trainer in UK. And is a leadership expert also, so he'll be with us here tomorrow. I don't know, Onyi, do you want to say anything in anticipation for your session tomorrow?
Yes, thank you actually for the wonderful talk, very enlightening. Yes, so we're in very interesting times. I've called it the era. 2020 is the era of creative distinction. So I believe now is going to be an emergence of new style of leadership, which has to be visionary in nature and results. So tomorrow I'll be sharing on, managing and leading with your distinction in the 2020.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. So we'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same venue. And then also prepare your questions. Get to invite other people to
please
also
prepare your questions ahead
to be a part of it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all the efforts that have been put together by Dr. Ray, Dr. Eno. Everybody has been extremely collaborative and extremely productive in terms of organization or in terms of creating a panel that can deliver some huge insights to all our listeners and attendees over here. Once again, my sincere wishes and gratitude to everybody who's over here and everybody who will continue being in the masterclass. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashley. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.